Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today we bring you a special guest. We have Mr. Victor Fuentes here. He is the Chancellor and founder of the Penn State Latin Mass Society. You may have read his article published on 1 Peter 5. It was about a month or two ago. Mid-December, where he talked about how you, students, can and should found Latin Mass societies at large public universities and colleges. And so it's our pleasure to have the opportunity to interview Victor, and he will fill us in on the whole situation, give us a synopsis of what is the Penn State Latin Mass Society and how did we get here. So welcome,
Sure.
Victor.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
So the Penn State Latin Mass Society, as some of you may have read on 1 Peter 5, kind of formed out of a group of college students who had come to love the traditional Latin Mass. And what happened in our situation was we attend a rather large, well, I guess Penn State, a large university, where I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. Mm-hmm. Our ministry program leaves a lot to be desired. And the chaplains are fairly very anti-tradition. So we had started, I'm a junior now, and the club started in October of 2020. We had started going to the Latin Mass consistently as this core group in the beginning of the fall of 2019, and that had kind of presented some problems. A couple of us were on the board of the Newman Club, and we ran into some headway disputes with people who were more of people who didn't like the Latin Mass, both students and then obviously the priests. And that kind of just persisted underneath the surface for a bit, and then that happened for the whole year. Then COVID happened, we got sent home, and then we came back in the fall to a rather interesting situation that I'm sure a lot of people have experienced something similar to this, in that the priests now were attempting to mandate communion on the hand, and obviously, as Catholics who attend the traditional Latin Mass, we cannot do this in good conscience. So we had kind of run into a lot of issues with this. There was a little bit of back and forth. There was a lot of, without giving too many details, there was a lot of dispute that happened out of this. And we ended up writing a letter to the superior of these priests to notify them of their conduct. Unfortunately, nothing came of that. But in all this, a lot of students who we had previously been asking to come to the Latin Mass, who were maybe a little tepid about making the time commitment, driving an hour away, or who hadn't exactly felt the same sort of draw that we did maybe, they came to see the true colors of the Novus Ordo and modernist clergy, for lack of a better phrase, because here were students, all of whom are very serious about their faith, all of whom are trying to grow in their holiness in various ways, and they were subjected to derision and slander and all kinds of things at the hands of the clergy just for wanting to receive communion on the tongue, supposedly because they didn't care about the COVID restrictions or something, which was the last thing in our minds. We were totally okay with making any sort of reasonable accommodation. But so students saw this and they realized, okay, well maybe we need to check out this Latin Mass thing. So we had a lot of students who were coming to the Latin Mass, but we did not have a formal organization. And then we decided in October that if we're going to continue spreading devotion to the Latin Mass, if we're going to continue doing things, we're going to need to have an organization by which we can do this.
Yeah.
So we decided to name ourselves the Penn State Latin Mass Society. Very original name. I'm sure there's nothing there. Nothing is new under the sun, or whatever. But we have seen steadily the number of students who come to see the Latin Mass grow and grow and grow, to the point where we had 23 go last week, and we're looking to have 30, hopefully, or more, for the first Sunday in March. So this is unprecedented growth. We started the Latin Mass my freshman year when I started going. We were lucky to have 2 cars worth of kids. Mm-hmm. Maybe we had 8, maybe we had 7, maybe it was 9. I don't even know if it got up to 10. I don't think it ever got up to double digits. And then, my sophomore year, very similar situation. We'd have 1 car, 2 cars.
Yeah.
To have 30 kids going to the Latin Mass with the time commitment that entails is absolutely unthinkable when you talk to me this time last year.
Yeah.
Absolutely out of the question.
All praise to the COVID.
Well, that has done a lot to show students, where they lie, because with the shutdowns of churches and with all of this stuff, students are seeing which clergy are really serious about going out on a limb to administer the sacraments and to do these things. And maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's not, but a lot of the clergy in our area who happen to be going out on a limb, not all but a lot, are Latin Mass guys, or they're at least amenable towards it if they're not outright celebrating it themselves. So, that's something that students are starting to realize, that if I need sacraments done and I want to go to adoration, which we didn't have until November on campus, if I want to go to adoration, I have to drive 40 minutes away, or I have to go off campus at least to the local church, where you'll get yelled at for receiving communion on the tongue, or outright, attempted to refuse. So, students are waking up to that, and so we've seen this unprecedented growth among students, which prompted me to write the article on 1 Peter 5, because this is something that I'm sure is not a unique situation at other schools. We are simply the product of a very non-unique situation. Everyone is dealing with the same things that we are to varying degrees, and this is, small unorganized Latin Mass groups could do a lot of good if they were to organize themselves into, student organizations. We're not a student organization yet, but we anticipate being so in the near future. And it's something that gives you a lot of benefit when you're able to have a name and be able to promote yourself. For example, we emailed all of the Latin Masses in the state of Pennsylvania, notifying them of our existence and saying, if you know anyone who is coming to Penn State or thinking of coming to Penn State, and they're worried that they're going to come to a large party school and fall under the cracks and be lost, among those that do that, fear not, because there exists a Latin Mass Society, and it's something that to my knowledge doesn't exist in any capacity similar to this in other schools, where it's a full community. It's not just a group of people that go to the Mass, but we hang out together. We're helping each other grow. We're doing all these things. So that has done a lot of work.
You mentioned you got a organized carpool.
Yes.
To go to Latin Masses. You do charitable works. You had mentioned in the future you're going to do retreats, various things like that. So you should just outline some of those things that you've done in the past or intend on doing, or that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, once we're able, we would love to do a retreat with local clergy. So that's something that we have been thinking about doing. Another thing that we're big on that we can do now is the Corporal Works of Mercy. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at volunteering with a local Catholic thrift store in State College, the St. Vincent de Paul, doing some work with them, raising money in various ways to pay for Christmas gifts for needy families in the Center County State College area. So these kind of things are how we're trying to give back to our community.
Giving talks to various youth ministry organizations.
Right. All of these things. So, not only are we trying to just help the community corporally with these works of mercy, but also spreading devotion to the Latin Mass outside of our area, outside of campus even, to local youth and stuff like that. Because anyone can come to the Latin Mass and enjoy it.
The one thing that's interested me is you mentioned I had seen in years past the number of students, and as you said, it's mostly been 1 or 2 cars full. And I think some of it does have to do with the COVID, but why there's a lot more students now. But I think that there's something about your particular age group, that it's at the point in time now where it seems like the only people who are left who are still practicing the faith are serious about this now. It seems like there's very few youthful cultural Catholics who are hanging on, or youthful Catholics who are interested in rock bands and charismania or whatever. And it seems like all the youth who still care about Catholicism now are like, well, I want the 100% organic, free range Catholic faith, which is the Latin Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems to me that that's one reason why the whole thing's blowing up, and you're getting like 20, 30 kids who are interested in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know from talking with other students, because we don't just I don't just talk only exclusively with Latin Mass people. Talking with other students who may have gone to Catholic school, or I was raised Catholic, something along those lines. They may have gone on Kairos retreats, and I've never been on one, so I can't speak to what that entails. But they're familiar with all of these things, and I'm assuming they're all done very, folksy, youth groupy
Mm-hmm.
type things. But yet none of them are serious, and none of them are practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right in that people are naturally drawn towards tradition. If they
Yeah.
have that inclination about the faith and they want to know more, and you present them with that which is the source and summit of the faith, the Eucharist,
Yeah.
done in the manner in which it ought to be properly, authentically done, that is something that they will naturally gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is the plan for the future as far as, you're going to get mainstream status officially at some point in time after the whole virus thing is over, if there is an end to the virus. And what do you think is possible in terms of, like students? What about getting a Latin Mass on campus, asking for a petition for that? What are your thoughts on that?
So obviously it would be very good for us to have access to a Latin Mass on campus.
Yeah.
That'd be something that would really remove probably the biggest barrier that we have, which is that students have to drive an hour or more to get to the Latin Mass.
Yeah.
We would love to see that happen. I don't know. I don't think it will happen in my time.
Mm-hmm.
Just the nature of our situation, I don't think is very conducive towards that. But suffice to say that we will hope and pray that happens.
Yeah.
And from there, I don't really see much else happening other than us bringing more and more students to come to know the Latin
Yeah,
Mass.
yeah. And then I think as that happens, things will begin to form themselves in
Sure.
terms of, like, what are they going to do? Like,
Sure.
there's a number of Penn Staters who have now learned how to serve the Mass. Some Penn Staters are perhaps going to start their own branch of a chant schola. I'm assuming you're doing faith studies. I know you share books because I've gotten some works by Archbishop Lefebvre from you,
That
and
is right.
some of the other kids in the Penn State Latin Mass Society. So it seems to me there's a tremendous potential there, and basically you're only just hatched,
Right.
like a few months old here, and there's already a lot of momentum there. I believe you've reached out to other students at other campuses, and you've gotten some positive feedback or interest from them, and saying like, "Hey, we want to do the same thing." And what's that been like?
So that's still in the process.
Okay.
We're still working on a lot of that, so there will be more to come
Yeah.
later.
I imagine
Yeah.
once COVID is over
Right.
and all that, then there'll be a lot more. You'll be able to work
Right.
with these other organizations, whether that's pilgrimages,
Right.
retreats, going to like, oh, there's going to be a pontifical here. Let's
Right.
all have a meetup.
Exactly.
You know?
So once the restrictions loosen up, then that makes things a lot easier for us in all of our endeavors.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to link the 1 Peter 5 article in the description below. Now, you mentioned other students at other universities, and I would imagine that this could take place at any university, small, large, Catholic, non-Catholic, even non-Catholic Christian universities.
Yeah.
And if there are any students out there, do you have any recommendations? They've watched this video. They said, this is something I really want to start at my university. Do you have any recommendations for them on getting started with the
Yeah.
Latin Mass Society?
Sure. So the first thing is you have to have a core group of people.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to start a club with one person or two people,
Yeah.
but you have to have a solid group. So if you're just one person, you go to the Latin Mass in your school, maybe find 2 or 3 more. And if you can't find them, pray for them to come find you.
Yeah.
And, that will happen. But if you have your core group of people, the important thing to remember is that you doing this because you want more and more people to come to the Latin Mass. So you could create a society, you could create a club or society through your school Whether you want to do that as a formal organization or not is completely up to you. But the important thing is to make sure that you bring people to the Latin Mass and you let them know when it's happening, and then you also provide them with a community centered around that. So your community ought to teach students and require of them holiness, and ought to foster that growth in them. And that's something that is the most important thing, because people will be gravitated towards that naturally.
Yeah.
And it may be the case at your university where you have priests who are totally amenable towards this. You may have priests who are totally in support of the Latin Mass. Maybe they'll learn it themselves if they see that enough students are interested. If that's the case, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
you don't
it's
have
awesome.
to do anything outside of. You don't have to even necessarily create your own Latin
No,
Mass
you
society.
don't,
You could
yeah.
do it through the Newman Club.
Yeah.
If you have supportive priests, then you're already light years ahead of where we are.
Yeah.
To be quite frank,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because you have something that can be done on campus. You have access to campus facilities and all these things. If you don't have that, that's where you can run into a situation
Yeah.
like ours.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Newman Club, is it important to maintain a presence in the Newman Club even when you form a
Absolutely.
society?
Yeah.
Absolutely. A number of our Latin Mass Society members or executive board members are on the Newman board as well. So I wouldn't say that we work together just by the nature of our rather precarious situation at Penn State,
Yeah.
but there's definitely overlap. The advantages to being a part of the Newman Club primarily are that the Newman Club as an established organization will allow is much better at recruiting students. For example, I know when I first got involved with the Catholic campus community, that was the first place I went to
Yeah.
because it was the place to go to. It's
Yeah.
if you Google Catholic Penn
Yeah.
State, that's what comes up.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to pull freshmen, you're trying to recruit freshmen. That's where you would find them.
Yeah.
And then also you find serious Catholics, people who are genuinely striving for sanctification and to save their souls, are in the Newman clubs, of course. And there are many of them, maybe who won't even be amenable towards the Latin Mass, but that's their prerogative, and they can make their decisions. But if you're looking for people who are going to be serious about their faith, you need to start where they're actually serious Catholics, and that's going to be in the Newman Club. Not everyone is there as serious, but that's where you're going to find them for the most part. Now, another thing that I didn't really touch on earlier was part of the reason we formed the Latin Mass Society was because we knew that our Newman Club, as rather, it presents itself as very modern. If you attend a meeting, at least when we had in-person meetings, you would see guitar, folksy stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're raised in a traditionalist household, you go to the Latin Mass, maybe you go to Fraternity Institute, Society, any of those, or diocesan or whatever. You're more likely than not going to look at that and say, well, this is not a place where I can find out.
I don't belong here.
Right, I don't belong here. And quite frankly, if you had come to that situation at Penn State, you would not have belonged, because there were students who are part of the LMS now who grew up going to the Fraternity of St. Peter, for example, and went to a Newman meeting and just said, this is not a place where I can be.
Yeah.
I'm not
crazy.
welcome here. This is not something that I could, that this does not look like what I know. And so having that society allows you to reach out to those people and allows you to eventually form a group where they can find you like they would find the Newman Club.
Yeah.
But if your Newman Club, isn't like that, then you don't necessarily need
You don't need
that.
another
Right, because then they'll
organization.
find the Newman Club, they'll go to the Newman Club and they'll say, wow, this looks, even if it's Novus Ordo, it looks like what I do at home, and people are amenable towards what I do at home and how I live my life with my family.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to reach out to you, are they able to reach out to you for advice, assistance, and if so, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, sure. So on the article, on 1 Peter 5, there is a contact form that is linked, a Google form. So you can fill that out. We'll get the notification and we'll reach out to you. You could also email, I believe it's psulatinmass@gmail.com. So you could email that if you want more information about what we did, or if you would like to have help with a blueprint or roadmap or game plan or something.
What if somebody wants to give you money? How do they give you money? So
Now-
maybe the best way is for them to pay for things.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That would be the best
And
way.
that would be get in contact with
Right,
you
get in
by
contact with
email.
us and see what we
On the
need.
contact.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then we can proceed from there. And once we become more and more established, the channels for us to receive funds and
Yeah.
donations and stuff will be established. And
Yeah.
so, if you're interested in helping out the Penn State Latin Mass Society, praise God for your charity. You just reach out to us. and we will let you know how you can help us
Yeah.
and how you can be of assistance.
Okay.
And as always, the most important thing you can do for us and for all college students is to pray
Prayer, yeah.
for our success and
Yeah.
pray that more and more people come to know the Latin Mass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're on that evil website Twitter, they also have a Twitter account that you can follow them to see what's going on with them.
Yes.
Penn State Latin Mass
PSU
Society.
Latin Mass, both on Twitter and Instagram, although both of those are non-active because it is a penitential season on social media.
And is there a website yet?
There is a website, sites.psu.edu/PSU Latin Mass.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a mouthful,
Yeah.
but
Say that again.
It'll be-
sites.psu.edu/PSU Latin Mass.
And I have the option to link that in the description, so that'll be there.
Yeah.
So there is a website that is also not monitored too frequently, but do check it out for more information. We do have some pictures up there of different people we've met, including the ordinaries of the ordinary of Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
or excuse me, of Harrisburg, and His Eminence Cardinal Burke.
Cardinal Burke, yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Victor.
Thanks, Victor. Appreciate
Thank you very
coming
much.
on the
Thank
show.
you. This has been a Thunder and Lightning exclusive with the renowned author of 1 Peter 5. We are the lady,
And we will not be silent.